The 1958 Chevrolet Impala existed for just one model year, yet it managed to launch one of the most famous names in American automotive history. That alone makes it special. But what makes the 1958 Impala truly fascinating is that it wasn't just a stylish full-size Chevrolet. It was a transition car, a rolling experiment, and in many ways a snapshot of Detroit. At the exact moment one design era was ending and another was about to begin. It arrived at a time when American buyers no longer wanted simple transportation. They wanted glamour, chrome, power, and personality. And Chevrolet answered by introducing a new premium model with dramatic styling, upscale trim, and enough visual confidence to stand apart from everything else in the lineup. The result was a car that lasted only a single year in this exact form, yet still left a permanent mark on Chevrolet history. So, here are 10 little-known facts and surprises behind the 1958 Chevy Impala, the one-year wonder that helped create a legend. It was one of Harley Earl's final design-era cars. The 1958 Impala was born at the tail end of the Harley Earl era at General Motors. Earl was one of the most influential figures in automotive design history, the man who turned styling into a weapon and helped define the look of American cars through the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. Tail fins, dream cars, dramatic chrome, and show car-inspired excess all carried his influence, and the 1958 Impala felt like one of the last full expressions of that world. It was wide, curvy, heavy with chrome, and deliberately glamorous. But it also arrived right before a major shift. After 1958, Earl retired and Bill Mitchell took over, leading GM into a cleaner, sleeker, and more modern design direction. That makes the 58 Impala feel like a closing chapter, the last big flourish of old-school 1950s GM styling before the sharper, lower, more sculpted 1960s began. The Impala name almost didn't survive. Today the word Impala sounds perfectly natural in Chevrolet history, but when the name was first proposed, it wasn't universally loved. According to later recollections from Chevrolet designer Claire McKeeshan, some executives mocked the name, with one dismissing it as just a goat. The problem was simple. Many Americans weren't especially familiar with the African Impala, a graceful antelope associated with speed and elegance. But that unfamiliarity may have helped. The name sounded exotic, memorable, and different from the usual American car names of the era. Chevrolet kept it, and it became one of the most successful model names the brand ever used. It was the very first Impala, and a true one-year-only car. One reason collectors love the 1958 Impala is because it's genuinely unique. The Impala name did not exist in 1957, and by 1959 Chevrolet radically changed the styling into the famous batwing tailfin car most people immediately picture. That leaves the 1958 model standing alone as a one-year-only design. It wasn't just a trim package either. Chevrolet positioned it as a more upscale model above the Bel Air, giving it unique styling cues and a more premium identity from day one. So, while later Impalas became a long-running model line, the original 1958 car remains a distinct outlier, the first Impala and the only one to look exactly like this. It introduced Chevrolet's triple taillight signature. One of the most important design details on the 1958 Impala was the debut of Chevrolet's triple round taillights. Before this, mainstream Chevrolets typically used 2 lamps per side. The Impala's 3 lamp setup immediately made it feel more premium and more distinctive. But the significance goes beyond just one model year. Those triple taillights became a Chevrolet design signature for decades, especially on full-size performance and premium models. Even long after the 1958 car disappeared, the sight of 3 red circles at night remained one of Chevrolet's most recognizable visual cues. Its roof vent looked functional, but actually wasn't. At the rear of the roofline, the 1958 Impala featured a dramatic V-shaped roof vent that looked like advanced engineering. At first glance, it suggested some kind of upscale cabin extraction system or aerodynamic feature, and originally, that's exactly what it was supposed to be. GM intended it to help vent air out of the cabin, but during testing, the system failed. Instead of pulling air out, the placement of the vent caused it to suck air into the cabin because it sat in a low-pressure zone. Rather than redesigning the roof, Chevrolet simply blocked the system off and left the vent in place as decorative trim. So, one of the Impala's most stylish features ended up being mostly fake, an early example of the non-functional vents and scoops that would become common on many later American cars. It had a steering wheel inspired by race cars inside the cabin. One of the quirkiest details was the 2-spoke steering wheel with a series of drilled holes, giving it a look many enthusiasts describe as the Swiss cheese wheel. This wasn't random decoration. The idea came from racing, where drilled wheels and metal components were associated with lightweight performance machinery. Chevrolet wanted the Impala to feel sporty as well as luxurious, especially since some versions could be ordered with genuinely strong engines. In reality, the holes didn't save meaningful weight, but they did something just as important from a marketing perspective. They made the driver feel like they were sitting behind the wheel of something more exciting than a standard family car. Chevrolet offered a surprisingly broad range of engines. 1958. Impala wasn't locked into one personality. Chevrolet gave buyers a huge spread of engine choices, allowing the car to be anything from a stylish 6-cylinder cruiser to a genuine V8 performance machine. At the bottom of the range sat the dependable 235 cubic inch Blue Flame inline 6, perfect for practical buyers. Then came the 283 V8, available in multiple versions, including a fuel-injected ramjet setup producing around 250 horsepower, serious performance for the time. But the real headline was the arrival of Chevrolet's brand new 348 cubic inch V8, the company's first big block engine. Buyers could choose versions making around 250 horsepower or go for the more dramatic tri-power setup with 3 two-barrel carburetors and up to 280 horsepower. Chevrolet even gave it a great late 50s marketing name, Super Turbo Thrust. That wide engine spread made the Impala appeal to almost everyone, from ordinary families to young buyers who wanted a full-size car with real muscle. It rode on an all-new X-frame underneath the body. The 1958 Chevrolet lineup introduced an all-new X-frame chassis, replacing the perimeter frame used before. This was a major engineering shift. The X-frame helped lower the car's center of gravity, which in turn allowed a lower roofline and sleeker overall profile. It also contributed to the 1958 Impala's different feel compared with earlier Chevrolets. While later enthusiasts sometimes criticize X-frame designs for structural compromises, at the time, it was part of GM's push to make full-size cars look lower longer, and more modern without sacrificing interior space. Chevrolet briefly offered four-wheel air suspension, one of the most surprising options available on the 1958 Impala was four-wheel air suspension. In theory, this was futuristic stuff. Rubber airbags, an engine-driven compressor, and the promise of smoother ride quality, plus self-leveling or adjustable ride height. In practice, it was a disaster. The system suffered from air leaks, durability problems, and maintenance headaches. Worse, the compressor drew power from the engine, which buyers noticed and didn't appreciate. Chevrolet eventually recalled many of the cars equipped with air suspension, replaced the setup with conventional springs, and refunded the option cost. That means truly original 1958 Impalas with factory air suspension are almost mythical today, making them one of the rarest and most unusual sub-variations of the model. K. It was full of small technical oddities. Beyond the big design and engine headlines, the 1958 Impala was packed with little technical quirks that most people miss. One example is the power steering pump, which was mounted directly behind the generator and driven by the same belt, a compact packaging solution, but one that made maintenance a bit less convenient. The car also reflected the late 1950s obsession with dramatic engine branding. Chevrolet didn't just sell you a 348 V8 with triple carburetors, it sold you super turbo thrust. That kind of naming captured the era's fascination with rockets, aircraft, and jet age optimism. It's part of what makes the 1958 Impala feel like more than just a stylish old Chevy. It feels like a car born at the exact moment America was obsessed with speed, futurism, and visual drama. And that's the real reason the 1958 Chevy Impala matters. It wasn't just the first Impala. It was a bridge between eras. It carried the final echoes of Harley Earl's chrome-heavy design philosophy, while also pointing toward the more aggressive and experimental future Chevrolet was about to embrace. It introduced one of the most famous names in American car history, debuted design cues that would live on for decades, experimented with advanced features like air suspension, and packed enough styling drama into 1 year to ensure it would never be forgotten. Most one-year-only cars are remembered as dead ends. The 1958 Impala wasn't a dead end at all. It was the starting point for one of Chevrolet's greatest success stories and one of the most fascinating one-year wonders of the entire 1950s. So now the question is this. If you had to choose, would you rather own the one-year-only 1958 Impala for its uniqueness or the wild 1959 Batwing Impala that became the bigger icon?